It is perhaps our most important and recognizable contribution to American culture, a uniquely New Orleans art form. Music that draws visitors from around the world. Rhythm that gets under your skin and sinks into your soul. It is intoxicating, it is improvisational, it is jazz, and it is disappearing from many of the sidewalks, stoops, street corners, and neighborhood lounges that helped it gain prominence.
Right now we're in the heart of Uptown, at the corner of Washington and Verret at the famous Verret's Lounge.
Calvin Johnson Jr. is a local musician whose band had a standing appointment at Verret's Lounge every week.
My band Chapter Soul used to play here every week, every Thursday night.
The funk soul fusion was a draw for the lounge, but just recently it was a nuisance to some of the area's new neighbors.
The reason we stopped playing here was because one or two newcomers came to the neighborhood, new homeowners came to the neighborhood from out of town, and they decided that the reasons that they loved the city and that they loved the neighborhood also became the reasons that they didn't want to live next to a barroom and a lounge, which was the live music, and filed noise complaints against this place.
But the streets of New Orleans have always been filled with noise, and apparently it's always been a complaint. The City Council's first noise ordinance passed back in the 1840s. It dealt with horn blowing by carriage drivers. In the 1850s, the council passed an ordinance that made it unlawful to beat a drum, blow a horn, or sound a trumpet in any street or public place within city limits. An ordinance that was rarely enforced, especially in black neighborhoods where much of the burgeoning music culture was located. Even our most famous native son, Louis Armstrong, used to sing on the street corners for pennies.
Stars were most certainly born in the neighborhoods of New Orleans, on the streets of New Orleans as well. The city wants to monetize and commodify this music, but the music is for the people.
Preserving the street music and neighborhood venues is part of our cultural character. As the city makes strides forward, what's the best way to hold on to such an important legacy? That's where MaCCNO comes in, the Music and Culture Coalition of New Orleans.
One of the fights that we're trying to fight is for the cultural bearers of New Orleans. We're fighting for the musicians, for the Mardi Gras Indians, for the second liners, for the street buskers.
It's also a fight for his very livelihood. Back at Verret's Lounge, the complaints beat out the culture.
Yeah, the music had to stop as well because of that. Their license was revoked.
One less live music venue, one more reason for Johnson and others to fight for preservation of our musical heritage.